Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie is 12 days north of hopeless, a few degrees south of freezing to death, and located solidly on the meridian of misery. I'm your host, Griner, and joining me today...
I'm Luke Morgan, and I have the heart of a chief and the soul of a dragon.
And I'm Buff Nut, and I'm too busy doing my axe return.
All right, we are doing How to Train Your Dragon. Movies I picked, but I hadn't actually seen all of them. Had you guys seen these movies before, Luke?
No, I had never seen any of these movies before, which is a surprise to me. I'm a big animated film guy. I love my Pixar movies, I always have. And yeah, I don't know. There was just something. I feel like I've always avoided DreamWorks outside of Shrek. Like I feel like there's a bit of a taint on that brand, but I was honestly very, very surprised. Like especially just looking at the critical reception, I was like, how have I missed this? How is this in my blind spot? So I'm very glad I got to check out these movies.
Conan?
I'd say the first two. So they came out at a weird time, sort of for my age. Like the first one's 2010, so I was in year 11. And so there was, I was a bit older at that point for this. So if it had come out 5 years earlier, like the Pixar sort of that golden age, I would have definitely seen it. But I think it just came out quite at a point where I was not maturing. That's a pretentious way to point, but like I was a very immature, maturing teenager. So I was like, I'm not going to be watching DreamWorks animation. I've got Before Sunrise and Before Sunset to watch.
And parties, drugs, and alcohol.
And just doing cool things like that, illicit, gambling, and Anyway,
Blackjack and hookers, yeah, of course.
Blackjack, plenty of blackjack and hookers, you know it. So I did see the first one, but I wasn't like, oh boy, new film. So the second one I did end up seeing, but I barely remembered. And then the third one I forgot existed. And even when I was looking this up, I'm like, is The Hidden World the third one? Because it's not called How to Train Your Dragon 3. And so I kept thinking, like, is this like one of those sort of pseudo direct-to-VOD sequels that they don't want to tarnish the actual franchise? But it's not. But yeah, as a result, even though I've always known the first one's really good, the first one has been like the movie that legitimizes DreamWorks outside of Shrek. I'm like, DreamWorks isn't a one-hit wonder. They did How to Train Your Dragon as well. Despite all that, the franchise doesn't have any like sentimental connection or like closeness to me. I'm like, I've always known they're good movies, but they don't have any relationship to me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the same. Like my brother-in-law is really into these movies. He really likes them. And I had seen the first one. I think I'd seen the second one. And then I was, I showed them to my kids, but I just still like can't say they ever like super resonate with me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, what did you show your kids this?
Yeah, so I watched these three with my kids. Again, they had seen them all before. My daughter loves them. Yeah, my son is a little bit little for movies, but he still has fun with it.
Yeah. I get excited when we watch animated movies or something like that for the podcast because it's an excuse to be able to watch these during the day for review purposes and have the family involved. So I was like, son, get off Fortnite. We're watching How to Train Your Dragon, and you're going to like it. And he wasn't a fan of getting off Fortnite, but then once the movie started, I could tell he was hooked. I sat there and hooked. We watched all three movies over 3 days or so. It was like Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. We kept having movie days with popcorn and all that sort of stuff. And the kids, I feel like, were quite captivated. I think they really, really enjoyed all three of them. So it was good. Yeah, it was good to watch them. I'm glad I watched it with them.
Yep.
Yeah, because I watched the first one with my daughter, and at first she was like, yeah, I love this. She's really into it. But then right towards the end, she started to halfway through, she was losing interest. And then at the end, we're like, are you liking this? And she said, no. And so we ended up turning it off like half an hour beforehand. And then a few days later, I was like, do you want to watch the second one? She's like, no. And she had no desire. And I'm like,
what a contrarian.
Now, I'm in a real existential spiral because I'm like, how do I get my children to like good movies? Because then she's like, let's just watch the British animated show Hey Dougie for 3 hours. And I'm like, don't worry, I like Hey Dougie, but we need to stop for a minute. And I was like, is she too young for this? But Griner, if your daughter's watching it, she's really into it. I'm like, maybe it's not an age thing. Maybe it's just a personality thing. But I'm like, no, I'm going to shape
the animation style. It could be the animation style. Like, I feel like when I was young, I wasn't young when this came out. I was 18, but I feel like the animation style just put me off, like straight away. Like
How do you
there's
mean?
something, I don't know. I think the humans, I don't know. There's something off-putting about it. Like it has that
Really?
Shrek effect to it. For me, it did. I think that's why it didn't appeal to me. I think when it,
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I really don't know how to put it into words. There's something that aesthetically it didn't appeal to me at all. When
Because
you
do you mean
think
like
an
there's
animated film about Vikings, I should be down for. I love my Vikings.
because they are accentuated and stuff. I guess like Stoic is massive, and the Astrid's got the round head. The
Yeah.
other ones have really long heads, but like the animation for most part, like there's no. I wouldn't say this has like a unique style in any way. It's like it's
No,
pretty.
and like
Yeah.
after watching them, I think my opinion changed, especially as they go on. I just think back then seeing it from there, it gave me that Shark Tale look, and maybe it's just the DreamWorks. I watched Shark Tale, and like
It's got
there was
that
just something
DreamWorks
about this
stink on
where
it. Yeah.
I was like, this isn't Pixar. Like it had that look to it as like this isn't Pixar quality. Like this doesn't look lifelike, but it's not also super cartoony where it's like in that middle ground where it's sort of a little weird and characters are kind of ugly. Like I don't know, but I my opinion changed after watching the films. Like I quite enjoyed the style, and like obviously Toothless is very cartoony with his eyes and everything like that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's like this does. I don't think this would do a lot for me in advertising, right? Like in looking at stills and stuff like that. But then, yeah, watching it, I have some opinions about the style, and I think it worked really well.
Yeah. But how do I get my kid into this? In my question,
It's interesting because I'm not sure my daughter is that into it. Like I think she was into it because I was keen to watch it with her, not because she's like she has watched them before and she calls them Hiccup. She doesn't call them How to Train Your Dragon, but she had a little stint there where she was kind of into them, but I don't think they're like her favorite movies ever. I think she'd probably at the moment she'd prefer to be watching Bluey, but that's just she goes through phases. She goes through phases. Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Sorry, Conan.
I don't have much advice for you. Yeah,
because like how do I extinguish this princess bug and get her into like
The substance.
Viking movies and
eventually the substance.
and it wasn't appropriate.
Like does your daughter like things like Pokemon and stuff like that?
No, so I've shown her a couple of episodes of Pokemon, and for like a week after, she was like, she really seemed to want to watch it. And then I guess, I don't know, maybe part of it was me. I was like, is this, I don't know, because I don't know what the age of this stuff is, right? I'm like, is Pokemon suited, like, is that a 3-year-old show? And I don't mean in terms of like content being too adult. I mean, like, that show is designed for like a 7-year-old, right? To have watched. Like, 3-year-olds have shorter attention spans. They don't have the cognitive ability to quite comprehend the concepts.
Emotional conflict and all this sort of stuff. It's
like, that's the thing, right? Like all of those Disney ones, like we watched The Lion King and she enjoyed it, but I don't think and it's even with like Frozen, like all little girls, she loves Frozen.
Yeah.
I don't think she understands the political weight of what Elsa does, even though boy, she really dooms Arendelle.
Yeah.
Holy crap, like not a great queen, but also
ruins trade relations around the world. Yeah, terrible.
Ruins it. But then she could just take over the whole anyway, so she's not into that. But she loves that movie. And so I'm like, okay, this movie's not for a 3-year-old, but obviously there's things about it that appeal to you. So I'm like, but then you would love it. You're like, she's obsessed with it. So I'm like, there's something in these movies that appeals. So why isn't How to Train Your Dragon specifically? Obviously there's no princesses, but we were never like,
again,
here's princess stuff, get into that. It's like something she took to it. I'm trying to figure out what that is.
I feel like it's aesthetics. There's something to the look of Frozen, the colorfulness, the characters, the way they look, the ice powers. I don't know, the singing. It's got something to draw in that younger audience. Like, yeah, I feel like you just have to wait a few more years till you're showing them those other movies, and for them to get invested into them characters and be like, outside of watching that movie in that hour and a half time frame, be like, oh, this character, I'm thinking about this character or that person, or I want to watch this again, or, and then you introduce them to like Dragon Ball Z or something, and that just becomes their identity for 5 years.
Well, that's the goal. I'm going to show a Yu-Gi-Oh! And be like, sweetheart, this is trading cards.
And then you pull out your duel disc and it's like, it's time to duel.
This is going to define the next 20 years of your life.
Yeah, get her into that cardboard crack early. All right, let's get into the stats. How to Train Your Dragon, released in 2010, had a budget of 165 million, made 494 million at the box office. How to Train Your Dragon 2, 2014 movie, had a budget of 145 million. These movies cost less to make as they went on, I'll just point out. Made $621 million at the box office.
Ooh,
and then
more.
How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, $129 million budget, made $539 million at the box office in 2019. Critical reception is 75, 77, and 71, respectively.
That's crazy. They get cheaper.
Yeah, I had that same thought.
When has that? I guess that's it, right? It's like it just doesn't cost as much to make an animated film. But when in history has this ever happened, right? Like,
Not like a math, like it's an impressive cast, but if you think about it, it's not like A-listers that are like. filling
Yeah,
this up.
there's some big names in there, but they're not like crazy big. And then they do
Kate
replace
Blanchett.
some of them as they go. Like, people aren't irreplaceable in the world of voice acting.
No, you're right. But I mean, like, for the first one, I understand that. Like, they've got a lot of people at the early days. Like, Jay Baruchel was more of a star then. Jonah Hill was becoming what he is. But then, like, 2014, 2019, Jonah Hill is a big deal. Like, America Ferrera is not until Barbie. But, like, Kate Blanchett, I'm sure she is something. Kit Harington, sort of at peak Game of Thrones fame. Like,
Do you still think he was drawing big bucks, though? I don't think so. And I think,
No,
do you
but I
think
think he's
Jonah
good at
Hill was
jar stuff.
in the booth for more than a day for this movie?
That's the thing. All of this stuff is like a day or two.
Like, they don't. There's like, these are pretty
Sure.
dialogue light movies, except for Jay Baruchel, really.
But 3 movies in, these guys could. The second one, when they're a lot more influential, I think they could have been like, "Hey, you want me, beloved snot lout? If you want me to do this, you need to pay me 3 times as much as you did." And they'd be like, maybe they would cut him. But I'm just like, I'm really surprised they would get cheaper because this happens with any property, right? There's a go on, so there's clearly a value to it. That's why they're still making them. So everybody involved, from the tiniest actor to the biggest actor, can be like, I need a pay increase. Like, I'm sure Jay Baruchel was charging more. Kate Blanchett reprising her role in number 3 would have been like, you need to pay me something decent. Like, Dean DeBlois would have been like, he's become sort of like the sole trader on all these.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, Gerard Butler as well. Like, these, that really shocks me. These are getting cheaper.
I mean,
And the animation looks very good in 2 and 3. Like,
it
better
is.
than
You're right,
before.
but I wonder if like the overheads of animation has gone down. I'd like to think so to some degree, but I don't know. It's interesting. Very interesting. Pretty similar Metacritic scores across the board. I think my opinion is this might be one of the more consistent trilogies we've done, like in terms of qualities. Like,
Exactly my thoughts.
yeah. All right, let's get into the first one. How to Train Your Dragon. 2010. A hapless young Viking who aspires to hunt dragon becomes the unlikely friend of a young dragon himself and learns there must be more to these creatures than he assumed. Man, like, such a well-trodden territory for a story, right? Like, not really doing anything crazy, high, like, we've seen this before,
Choosing
right?
Peace over violence, and
Yeah.
being the odd person in the village.
And then, having this creature that you're kind of at odds with at the start, and then having, like, becoming best buds by the end of it. And I think it's not doing anything crazy new or exciting or weird, but everything it does, I think it does very, very well, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, this is like a wise choice that I think a lot of animated films do. Is like, the first one, especially in a franchise, relies on a pretty basic story. It's like, because no one's going there to see the story, they're going there to see the animation. Right? Like, you're here to see a Viking, like Vikings and dragons, and that cool stuff. And so if you try to do something too high concept with the story, it can often alienate, or it can come. And like Pixar in the 2000s is the exception, where they start to go super high concept with like Wall-E and Up and stuff. But like, The Lion King retells Hamlet. Shrek is a very basic story of like a guy wants to just people to leave his swamp.
Wants to get his swamp back,
Like,
yeah.
Literally, it's like literally playing on all these familiar fairy tale tropes. Like, this is always a pretty safe idea to do. So I think it's a really wise choice in this. Just like, this is a coming of age story with like boy and his dog elements and a classic fish out of water. Like, so we know what we're going to get. But you're right, it's executed so well. Like, it's really well paced. This movie just like goes.
This
All of
movie in
them,
particular
like,
is just
good.
so economical. Like, I don't feel like it's a wasted scene. I feel like it just chugs along so well. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like a lot of clever plays on everything. Yeah, like I'm shocked on this rewatch. I'm like, man, this movie is just like doesn't really do anything wrong. It's
Hmm.
almost feels wrong. You know, like, I'd be like, it's not a perfect film. I don't love it that much, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know where I'd be like, that's a bad thing. That's a failure because like it all just works.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's got like 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that sort of sums up of just like you can't really find much wrong with this. Like
Yeah.
to walk out of here and be like, I didn't like that film. It'd be an interesting case study on who that person is mentally. But like, it's no, like my kids really enjoyed it. Like I said, my son begrudgingly started watching this. Like it was, he was being tortured. It was like, oh, an hour and a half. I have to sit down and watch this with my family. And then like 5 minutes in, he was kind of just like sitting there just staring at it, like captivated. And yeah, like it breezes by. You don't get bored at all. Like I never look down at my phone to see what's going on or like how long is left in the movie. It just flies by. And yeah, like does everything good. Like I really enjoy everything with Hiccup and Toothless
Hmm.
and learning each other and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I like Gerard Butler as well.
Gerard Butler brings like a real sort of authority and gravitas to it. That's
Yeah.
perfect for the character, but kind of necessary for the movie as well.
Yep.
Because like I like Jay Baruchel. Like he sort of had a few years where he was a commodity.
Hmm.
And he's very much, like he's a certain type of person, right? His voice is very unique.
Yep.
Like you can't really put him in a whole lot of different roles, but I really like him. And so having like he sort of seems like he's perfect for this kind of like this smart but whiny little dweeby guy.
Yep. Yep.
And like you said before, like the animation, like him compared to Stoic the Vast, who's this truly enormous creature, like 15 times the size of him.
Yeah.
When it's like Gerard Butler, it's like, yeah, it kind of makes you believe that character. It's like, yes, he is. Gerard Butler's one of the few people who could voice a character like that and make you think he was real.
Yeah.
And so they do a really job pairing those, like the character animations or the character designs to their voice actors. Like America Ferrera's Astra as well, like not doing anything fancy. She doesn't have heaps to do here, but it's like good job. Then Tough Nut and Rough Nut, you got TJ Miller, Kristen Wiig. Like I don't know, they're all really good.
Yeah, I think like the supporting cast plays off each other really well. Yeah, I did like the whole cast is great. I think.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I like when it gets into him actually training and doing all this sort of stuff and finding his way of solving all the challenges with the dragons and the dad. I really like that relationship with the dad with Stoic about he believes in him and he's like, oh my god, he's so excited to see that his son's doing this thing and watching him do it in front of everyone. Like there's really good stuff there.
I really like the whole, and this is why I brought up Pokemon before, but like all the dragons kind of feel like Pokemon. They kind of, like, I love that they're reading out stats for them and, they can attack 5 times before they run out. And this one has one head that sparks and the other head produces noxious gas. Like, just giving little mechanics to all of the dragons is a really nice touch.
Video gamey.
Yeah, it feels video gamey, but it also kind of, it doesn't make them feel real, but makes them all feel unique, I guess. In a really nice way. And then I think the design is really smart on a lot of these dragons, particularly what's his name? Night Fury. Toothless. Yeah. Like, he's really, really cute, but then like when he wants to be kind of scary, he's kind of scary, and like he looks really cool when his fins are all lit up, and like they do a really good job of having this character design that works on all of those levels. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Apparently modeled after a cat.
Yes.
And you can kind of see that, like, definitely sort of has that feline behavior where it like goes between friendly and wants your attention to ready to like
vicious animal.
Yeah, vicious and just yeah, exactly. It's clever to doing that because then it's definitely got a cat sort of personality. And I don't like cats, but I like Toothless.
And that's the thing. I feel like it's more effective to have it be like a cat as opposed to like a dog, like that man's best friend thing, because dragons aren't man's best friend traditionally, and cats aren't man's best friend. traditionally,
But we've
back in
made
the
them our
olden
we've
days-
made them our best
in the
friend
old
now.
day, exactly.
Thankfully, yeah, we're all friends now.
But cats have that thing where they can be standoffish, and it's more like a partnership that they all work with you. If you feed them and do stuff for them, that they'll come back to you. But like, no, I really like Toothless design, and you can see just the small changes in pupils and all this sort of stuff where it will turn from dangerous or like the first scene where you see all these dragons and they're going through what each one is like, and then the Night Fury you can't even see it. It's just like coming in, destroying everything. It feels really cool.
Yep. Big fan. So then Dean DeBloy, the guy who made this, I didn't realize this because I don't know. I guess I never really looked into it, but like all these movies written directed by him, like the last one especially is like a solo project almost. And the first one's written with his like longtime collaborator Chris Sanders. But I don't know. I like it. You definitely feel like all these movies have and this first one as well, but like you feel like again, this isn't like just a job for hire. This is a sort of like a project he clearly sort of cares about and wanted. And like, brings a lot of that like necessary humor, like the depth. Modeling Toothless after a cat is the kind of thought that I guess you don't really give into a movie like this unless you are deeply invested and care about it, right? It'd be easy to just be like, oh, he's just a dragon. Or like you say, look, he's a dog. But like there's clearly this thought going into this of like, what would this be like? How do we flesh this out? And like, and the other part of that is, I guess, he was like a long time animator for a bunch. He co-wrote and like helped animate a bunch of the old Disney stuff. Worked on Lilo. I think Lilo and Stitch was him and Chris.
He was a director, yeah.
So like, again, really good sort of pedigree. He's like proven his worth. Comes in and makes this project, and like, I don't know, you feel the passion and the love in this. It's like he just really loves this world. He really loves and cares about this relationship between these two, like these mismatched friends.
Yep.
There's not an inauthentic part in this movie. Everything feels cared for, thought out, earnest. And like, and you can't help but get wrapped up into it, even if you like don't care or you're half watching, like your kids, even if they want to be off playing Fortnite. There's something about it all that you just hooks you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm struggling to remember now because obviously I watched all three of them. What's the final confrontation in this? Like, what's the?
I had the same thought too, and I was trying to look it up.
Because obviously
the
2 and
Red
3
Death
really
it says, but I can't even remember what that is.
antagonists.
Isn't it just the dragons attack and then?
Oh yeah, the dragons from the volcano where they're dropping the
that's
sacrifices
right.
in, and that dragon, the big dragon attacks.
Yeah,
the Red Death.
Yeah, you're right. There's not really like there's not really an adversary or like there's not a clear antagonist in this one.
It's almost an afterthought to give them a third act, really. Like it feels like a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get that moment where you realise Hiccup's lost his leg and they've got the same injury now, the both of them. It's kind of cute.
And that's the thing, I do like that about Toothless as well, losing the little wing and sort of relying on Hiccup in a way to then fly, like what he needs to do. It's good. Yeah.
I like that in this world, prosthetics are okay too. Like there's what's his face, he's the armourer who's just swapping out hands with hammers and whatever he needs at the time. Like it's not a problem at all. Just
very functional.
Yes.
Yeah. It's almost better to have these. It's like you can do more when you got interchangeable hands.
Yeah, he's really good too. I really like him. He's good.
Gobber, yeah.
Gobber.
All right, shall we move on to number 2?
Do it.
Released in 2014, when Hiccup and Toothless discover an ice cave that is home to hundreds of new wild dragons and the mysterious dragon rider, the two friends find themselves at the center of a battle to protect the peace.
Man.
Yeah, I'd seen this and I'd forgotten all but the cool image of Valka's mask.
Which is such a cool image. It's such a cool
when she appears riding that dragon, it's like this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like it just looks so
like
such
Elden Ring boss battle. Like I like this. This is cool.
Yeah. There's so much good design work in this too, though. Like the main bad guy with his thing that he whirls around to control the dragons, and like just and the way he screams, like it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drago.
Yeah. everything's been thought out. Like everything has a reason.
Yep.
It's great design. But yeah, this movie's really good. Like I
I
don't know
wasn't
if,
expecting it to get better, but like I really, really enjoyed number two. I think everything with the mum is a really interesting thing to do, where she's obviously a dragon lover and explains that backstory and everything like that. Like you said, Conan, her design is really, really cool.
Yep.
Like just every time she pops up again, I'm just like, this is really cool. Like I'm into this. But yeah, like everything, I really, really enjoy what they do, like with the alpha dynamic and how the dragons will just follow this alpha and all this, and what happens with Toothless and Stoic. Like
Yeah.
it gets me. It got me. You know, it really did get me. Where I was like, oh my god, like I've only just started watching these movies. Why am I getting emotional to Stoic? But it works.
And again, like that's not a brand new idea that I've never ever seen before, but again, just done really, really well. And like he's just reunited with his wife, and then he's killed by Toothless. Like just rips your heart out.
Being reunited with his wife like softens him as well. Like he goes back to you think how he was before, and I don't know. You're kind of expecting Toothless to snap out of it at the last second.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the trope of like, oh, he'll see him, you know, he'll be unblurred and he'll snap out at the last second, and he could have caused damage or he's hurt somebody, but like he straight up kills his dad.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty ballsy to do that for your main like hero character, but no, it's really effective.
I had the same thought. I was like, if this movie gets made today, like I was thinking about how in Inside Out 2, haven't seen it, but there's a lot of talk about how like Disney was careful to remove any trace of gay subtext because they're like, we can't alienate any market here. And so there's like a lot of sort of this meddling by producers to be like, we can't have anything go wrong with how this might be received, so we're going to make sure that anything that could be controversial or upsetting or displeasing is avoided. Like if this movie gets made today, I don't think they kill Stoic. I think Stoic survives. I think he's the last. He's almost like the last scene where he emerges from the thing. It's like, he survived. Thank goodness. Yeah. And that would be a terrible choice because like these movies make like they have stakes that are met, right? Like when Hiccup loses his foot in the first one, it's like, okay, they're even more dependent on each other because they're sort of a new level of connection is here, and he is no longer like he's got this new thing, and like that's going to be an issue. Like he's suffered for his quest and his growth, and then this one's like Stoic dies, but he gains a mum, and like Stoic's death is really sad, especially because the scene before where they reunite, like they have that really soft, like that gentle scene where they sing their song and they dance. It's like, that feels real, and it's like, it adds such a weight to be like Stoic's passing, and then what does that mean for Hiccup becoming the chief? And choices get made, actions have consequences, and narratives then react to that, and like that makes it feel worthwhile. Whereas when movies pull away from that, it's like, well, the character changed, but he lost absolutely nothing. It's like the change doesn't feel right. But having all the change and the growth, it's like, this feels, I've earned this. This makes me feel something. I'm like, great choices.
Yeah, 100%. Like across this whole trilogy, I think they're not afraid to make those hard choices. And you're right, it just makes them feel so much more impactful. It's awesome.
I only wish there was more blood. I just wish there was more. Like we see Stoic's organs all over the floor.
Of course,
he's coughing it up as Hiccup's trying to hold it all in, and it's like World War II. The battle on D-Day. He's trying to put the organs back in, and
that's what my kids said was missing, from it. They're like, surely it would blow him apart, right?
Should be more blood and viscera, Dad. What's going on?
Unrealistic. This is unrealistic.
All right, he's Saving Private Ryan.
Kit Harington's in this one. Eret. Obviously it seems like he's the bad at the start, but then it's like, oh no, he's working for someone. But then, it's interesting how they do it. He's fine. I like his whole dynamic. With what's the character's name? I only know it's Kristen Wiig. Her obsession with him.
Rough Nut,
Rough Nut and his muscles, which is pretty funny. She's got the other two guys pining for her, but yeah,
that made me laugh.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not he's not a great voice actor. Like he's one of those things where he doesn't have an overly unique voice, but more than anything, it's just like he's not. Yeah, voice actors can do things with their voices that are a bit more interesting and compelling.
He was
And he's
he was
just
hired because it was Game of Thrones. Like,
Yeah.
popular.
Like-
And he was like, oh, let's get Jon Snow.
I think in a more challenging role, he would really struggle. Like,
yeah.
You haven't watched The Eternals, so
True. I've been watching Sing a lot with my daughter, and I'm amazed at their ability to sing in the character's voice. Like, that just seems mind-blowing to me. But, yeah, like, I wouldn't expect Kit Harington to manage that, right? He's just going to use his voice, and he's going to say the lines pretty well. But,
Yeah.
I like his character. His character's fun.
yeah,
It is. I think it's really good. Like the whole, villain turns. The villain turned at the end, and he becomes a reluctant ally.
Henchman, yeah.
Is like
the good guys are pretty good.
Yeah, that's been done 1,000 times, but it feels very like that. That's been done because it works when it's done properly, and it's done properly.
Yeah.
Also, Hiccup has a flaming sword, which is freaking awesome.
It's really cool. This is the thing. Like, speaking of the whole, like, the character of his mum and the way she looks and everything, I love how Hiccup throughout these movies gets cooler and cooler. And the flaming sword, like, Beric Dondarrion was almost my near favorite character in Game of Thrones just because he had a flaming sword. I'm sold as soon as I see that.
Yeah. It's interesting because a year later, Bloodborne comes out, and Bloodborne definitely has some elements that feels like maybe it's taken from this.
Bloodborne was inspired by How to Train Your Dragon, very
Like-
possibly.
But yeah, maybe saw a flaming sword, and
Miyazaki, what a hack!
he's like, "That's what we need." That mask on that flaming sword, that's a game. And
Maybe Kit Harington went back to them and was like, "We need a character with a flaming sword because I'm in this movie, and I tell you what." And they're like, "All right, Beric Dondarrion."
No,
I do like how he
it's good.
explains the sword as well, like the tricks of like actually mechanically using it. It's not just a magic thing. It's
Yep.
yeah, I like that.
It's my question is if you have that technology to make a flaming gas firing sword, then in the third one he can like unload a cartridge like a handgun.
Yeah,
Are they still going to be like Iron Age Vikings? I feel like they've created engines by now, surely.
But do you need an engine if you can ride on the back of a dragon? Like,
But they couldn't do that before.
Yeah, but it's only through the technology of the dragons, like that the dragons bring.
But what do they get for the dragons? They give them technology.
no. But they're not worried so much about getting attacked by dragons. They're not worried about building defenses. They're working with dragons to easily go, get stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, cool. What are we going to do? Build flaming swords.
I mean, okay, fair enough. So they're like, we can't build engines because it'll get dragon bombed. So we're just going to build what we've got. Maybe.
There we go.
Is Hiccup an irresponsible leader then, making flaming swords instead of taking his people into
He's not meant to be a leader. Really.
Like, where's the industrial revolution that he should be leading?
True.
Is my question. Like, he needs to modernize this tribe.
That's right. They need to suppress the workers.
Well, that comes later. That comes later. That's a different thing. First, he just needs to at least be like steam power, baby.
This community really lacks capitalism, I think, is the problem.
That's right.
Come on, Hiccup. Get it together.
In the third one, he should have been a slumlord. Owning all the real estate.
All right, number 3. We are just flying through these movies. 2019, when Hiccup discovers Toothless isn't the only Night Fury, he must seek the hidden world, a secret dragon utopia, before a hired tyrant named Grimmel finds it first.
Yeah, I had no idea this movie existed.
Why do you think this ditched the number, like the 3?
I'll tell you exactly.
Go then. No, I said I don't think it matters, but you go. You tell us why.
I think it does. So, and it's part of my problem with not the movie. It's my problem with DreamWorks, and it speaks to the difference between DreamWorks and Pixar. Is that this whole franchise gets franchised the fuck out of it? Like, there is How to Train Your Dragon, Riders of Berk, How to Train Your Dragon, Homecoming, How to Train Your Dragon. Sorry, then it becomes Dragons at some point. A Race to the Edge. How to Train Your Dragon, Legends. These are all like TV shows, expansion stuff. So this is like a lot. I think it was after the first movie, as is often the case with DreamWorks, they franchise the hell out of this.
I thought it was a TV show. I thought that's why I'd never watched it. I was like, oh, there's a TV show of it, all this sort of stuff. There was a video game too, I believe.
So there's like 40 episodes of one season, and there's several other ones. And the first season, the first show they did, which is just called Dragons. I think it was originally called Dragon Riders or something. It's got most of the original cast still, like Oh, they recast one guy. It doesn't have Stoic, but it has Mark Hamill. It has the core, like it has Jay Baruchel and America Ferrera and a couple of others.
Damn.
But like this becomes a big franchise beyond the movies. This becomes like a
Mm.
show that I guess a lot of kids were watching on I don't know, on TV, however they consumed media back in 2014. And so I think that became part of it is like Hidden World is like that's how they get kids in who haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, but have watched all the Dragon Riders shows.
I mean, that's like the video game way of like if they take away the numbered sequel, it's to try and bring in new people, like new people who don't want to watch the third one because I have to watch the first and second one. But do you want to go watch How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World? Okay, then I'll go watch that movie.
That's exactly right.
And
if you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, I was a big fan of How to Train Your Dragon Homecoming, where I got to see some expanded stuff. Like that makes much more sense than being like, oh, I haven't seen the first two, and like. So I think it's it's a marketing choice of like how do we sell this movie a little bit better, which it doesn't really matter, but it does make me feel a bit like
it didn't do as well at the box office.
No,
it does make you feel a bit dirtier about the whole trilogy, right? Like
it does.
It's nice to think that this is a unique vision by this one guy and his small team But then, you realise they've just made a whole bunch of TV shows and really franchised the hell out of it outside of these three movies.
Yes.
And now they're making live-action versions of it too, which is the bane of everybody's existence.
Which I hate, and it's so weird is because, again, Dean DeBlois is doing that. Like, he's writer-director on that. So he's readapting his own movie.
It looks like it's a one-to-one, just full-on, remake.
I don't understand. It makes me mad that they're doing this. I'm like, at least it will still be similar, but I'm like, this is a bad choice that you're doing this, dude.
At least get like Jonah Hill and Kristen Wiig to play the kids. Have them.
Yeah, a lot of 40-year-old Jonah Hill.
Like, whoa, dude!
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah,
it's and like this movie is still very much part of the trilogy. It doesn't mention any it's not MCU. He's not like, hey, remember that time we went to the other area? You don't have to have any prior knowledge, but I just felt a bit like, why is this not called number 3? But despite my rant and my rambling on, this is also pretty good.
Still a good movie. These movies are consistently just
they are.
Yeah.
It's I feel kind of bad, right? Because we almost sound down on these because they're just all consistently really good. Like, I'm not jumping out on my seat because I love these movies, but where's the crap one, right? Like, it makes the good one seem so much better when there's a crap one, but there's just not. Like, they're all solid movies.
Show, obviously, should have watched the TV series.
I actually tried to watch that with my daughter, and it is pretty bad.
Yeah,
animation quality is horrid in it compared to these.
Yeah,
maybe that's what I saw all them years ago, and it turned me off it. I don't know. But I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and what I like about this one is obviously the characters all getting older and all that sort of stuff. Especially the end, like, not to just skip straight to the end of the movie, but like it felt like a thing of like, I kind of wish I was along on this journey, like of growing up with these characters in this way and seeing this, him have a beard now at the end and have kids, and Ruthless has a kid and all that, and be like, I have a kid, that's me, But then I realized, it doesn't time up with my life. Like, these came out when I was like, the first one came out when I was leaving high school. It is what it is, but it felt like a nice, bow, like on the present of the movie sort of thing. Like, it's a good way to finish the trilogy. They've left it as a trilogy. Like, that's 6 years ago. Obviously, we have the live remake coming out now, but they didn't go back to the well again. Like, it's a good finale to these movies, and
they didn't leave it open really.
Finality to it. It's not ambiguous. It has an ending. Like, it's a good third act.
Yeah, and it's really thematically sound, because the whole first two is like this incredible bond of brotherhood and friendship, and like between this boy and his dog, essentially, or cat, more like it. And then it's like, but you have to sort of let that go eventually, because this mismatched relationship is mismatched, and that's like probably the thing that I like to respect the most about these movies is none of them rehash previous territory as so many sequels do. They're not like, how do we just sort of recreate another villain that's the same? It's like they're all fair. Even though the villain in 2 and 3 are fairly similar in terms of the goal is to just like kill dragons and conquer the world. That's not the point. The point is like Hiccup's growth and journey. And it's, the third one isn't just like, how do I still, he doesn't, it's not like he loses Astrid or something. It's like, no, he actually has to let go of this whole incepting moment of finding Toothless and grow as a person without his dragon. Like, that's a really, because that does kill this franchise then. Like, that is, you can't have this anymore if there's not those two together.
Yeah, with the dragons, they're sending away the dragons to their own world, like a hidden world. And like it's a bold choice to make that I wasn't really expecting when watching it. Like, this whole thing that they're building, this utopia of showing, we live with dragons now, and almost the fact that they tie it into our world, of like, we kept it secret. When earthquakes and volcanoes, that's dragons still letting us know that they're there, waiting for one day for us to be a decent human race and not like we can coexist with dragons. That's kind of cool. It turns it into like a legend, which goes well with Viking culture and all that sort of stuff. I really like how they wrapped this up. I love I really like the aesthetic of the female Nightwing as well. Very Mew and Mewtwo sort of thing. Like it's cool dynamic. The villain's good. I like him. He's kind of intimidating and weird and evil and using his like poison and stuff like that.
He's like the first one to kind of outsmart Hiccup too, right? Like we had Drago, who was kind of the physical opposite of him, but now we've got like his mental match.
Play mind games, like it's a cool choice.
I really like this, like just how they set up for that ending too. Like that first scene where you go back to Burke again, and it's just overrun with dragons. Like it is chaos. It is out of control. Like it's beautiful and it's colourful, but you look at it and it's like, oh man, like this is like pigeons in the city. They're shitting everywhere. You got to put little spikes on your buildings so they don't roost up there. Like
you'd have to rebuild houses every day. Like they're
feels
just destroying houses like constantly.
Like it's clear that this paradise is not sustainable, and like I like this passage of time. Like Hiccup's got peach fuzz. Like it's cool. I really like what they've done here. And then I love when Nightwing's trying to flirt with the Light Fury. Like he's Toothless is doing his little dance.
I was trying to figure out the baby dance. I think Toothless just has so much personality in all of these. Like really gets that across. Like this is not just this is a character in and of itself, despite having obviously no words and having a pretty limited like physical movement as well. But just like the goofiness and how he plays and how he like wants to play and then sometimes gets serious and sensitive. Like great job, like bringing Toothless to life as a whole different thing.
Plus, you get that really cool opening. He's got that sick armor. He's got his flaming sword again.
Again,
and there's still kind of stuff ups, right?
So cool in this. Like his armor is really cool.
So the dragon scales and it's all fireproof.
They're breaking all the dragons out of the cages at the start, like their infiltration mission. It's cool. They're like a team now. They're X-Force. They're like their own little superhero team that come in and mess everything up. But I like it. It's a good movie.
I was a bit more muted on this one. I don't really know why. Again, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to go through it and be like, what is there about it that I didn't respond to as well? But
did you enjoy the flashback scenes with Stoic?
They were really good. They were very powerful.
And Gerard Butler has a presence. Like he
totally does.
Like he really does.
So freaking good.
Underrated.
Yeah. Well, he does that to himself. He's too busy making Plane and Olympus.
Washington Falls again.
Yeah, it's like just you're better than this, Gerard. Come on. I feel like Astrid and Hiccup have the best relationship in this one. Like, there's actually the first one, it's kind of non-existent. The second one, there's still a bit of like, I don't know. They don't really expand on that a lot. In this one, it feels a bit more like she's trying to push him for something, and they just get a bit more like time to work together. And there is that tension of like she wants him. She can see something in him. The whole dilemma is, it's like I can see that you don't need a dragon to be a leader, and he still doubts himself. Well, I don't know, they have a really good relationship in all of them, but in this one especially, I'm like, it's cute, but it's believable.
Yep. Yeah. Anything else we want to say? This might be our shortest podcast in a long time for movies we quite enjoyed. We just don't have anything to
have no complaints.
nitpick,
That's
right?
the problem, isn't it? We have no complaints.
I don't know. Look, we can change it again. So the Industrial Revolution, right? This time,
How do we rank them? I feel like that might be the hardest part of this podcast.
How do you rank your children? You know, like
It's true.
Basically the same thing. Yeah.
it's usually the firstborn that's the favorite. We can all agree with that.
Did you guys miss not having TJ Miller in the third movie at all?
Didn't notice, to be honest. Who plays the character in the third one?
Justin Ruppel.
Oh yeah, no, Justin Roible did a fine job. TJ Miller got cancelled, obviously.
Yes.
So this was, this was after. What was he cancelled for?
No, I don't know that we want to get into it, and I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
Okay, all right. So
Definitely
we won't litigate
tech stuff.
We won't litigate that here.
I don't know.
When did the Deadpools happen?
So he was
2018.
in the first two, and then not in the third.
He's not in the third. Okay,
No,
so it was
notably.
afterwards. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, I really didn't notice.
Didn't
I
notice.
just, no.
Yeah.
No, he's just one of those guys that I really liked Silicon Valley, and I thought he was really good in that. And then
He was great in Silicon Valley.
he's just obviously been cancelled. Not going to defend him in any way, shape, or form, but it's just interesting how he was kind of like his star felt like it was on the rise. He was in all of these things.
He was becoming the Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill type dude in movies. He was being used like that.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
But yeah. It's hard to rank him for me. Like, I would probably go 2, 3, 1.
Really?
Yeah, and I understand like 1 is kind of like this perfect little encapsulation. I just think more memorable for me 3, like the story of him getting older. There's more emotional depth with 3, and there's more complex stuff happening in 3 and 2 that I think would make me interested in watching it again. 2, I don't know. Everything with Stoic works really well for me. Like it was very sad, and I love sadness. So yeah, that's my thing.
I actually
Viking funerals. I'm all about it.
I might actually agree with you in that order. I think 2, 3, 1. Like
I
like
think
1.
One's the worst.
No, it's not that bad. But I think
You hate the first
This
movie.
podcast isn't called Good, Bad, Worst or anything like that.
Yeah, sorry. No, we have to decide which one's awful, and you guys hate the first one.
Like if I had to watch these again, I think I'd be more interested in watching 2 and 3 again than 1. I have seen 1 the most though. That might sway my opinion quite a bit.
What's your ranking, Conan?
Again, like children. I'll never admit which one's my favorite, but we all have one. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'd probably say 1, 2, and 3. Like I think it'll just be release order. 1, I think, is like I've seen it the most, and so that's both part of the reason why I wouldn't rewatch it again. But like I don't know, 1 is just such a. Again, I said it at the top. Kind of a perfect movie without being perfect. Like it's an hour and like 40 minutes, perfectly paced. Everyone's doing a great job. Like there is nothing in there that I'm like, that's a weak thing, except for like this could be an MA hardcore bloody movie, but that's not really I can't blame the movie for that. Like everything about the first one works, and like it's just a really singular joy. And I was expecting
Can't say any of the like dynamics or relationships are better in the first one, like or more enjoyable to watch.
I can say what I want. I'm an autonomous person.
You can if you want.
I have sentience.
I don't.
I could understand Toothless and Hiccup's relationship and that growth they experienced in the first one being your favorite part too. Like that's
the start.
It's totally fair.
Yeah, I don't think there's I mean, you are right in that all of these things are like the relationship with Stoic and his mother, his wife, is better in the second one. But it's like, but you only have that because you've already built Stoic as such a good character from the first one. And so I don't. It's hard to be like, he's better in the second because it's like, well, that's because he's standing on the shoulder of giants.
I feel like the supporting cast are all better in 2 and 3. I feel like they're more memorable and have like better interactions and are funnier. But I don't know.
Maybe.
Obviously, you like the first one best. Just say it.
Like no, I said at the top. I'm not arguing. I honestly didn't really like before this. I wasn't like, yeah, that's definitely the way it goes. I don't know. Yeah, I just think the 1 is like kind of perfect in a lot of ways. 2 is still really good. I haven't thought about it enough to be like, that's what's wrong with it. 3, I think, would definitely be the weakest in my mind, and it's not not a bad movie by any means.
So you think three's the worst?
I just, yeah, I don't even, yeah, I hate 3. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World
You
sucks.
hate love.
You
If
hate
it
it
was
because
called-
Toothless finds a woman in it, don't you? You just
A white woman. Why can't Toothless have a black woman? All right. I don't really know if they were too afraid to commit fully, or if they were like, we need to do it this way, or what. But there's a lot of subtext there that I don't like. I don't want to read into it.
Toothless likes what he likes.
Like Toothless, a strong black dragon, only finds a white. Like, I don't know. Yeah, no. Some Dean DeBloy, what's going on, buddy?
Speaking of things that could get us cancelled, TJ Miller made a bomb threat, a fake bomb threat on a train. That's part of his downfall.
I wasn't expecting that.
Just
I
on his
forgot about
Wikipedia
that.
for the fun of it. Apart from sexual assault allegations too.
So
which
he's a
obviously is
terrorist
scumbag,
as well. Damn it!
Who saw that coming?
He got off on expert medical analysis and reports regarding his prior brain surgery and its continued neurological impacts.
It's a weird thing to get off to, but yeah, he's a weird dude.
It's getting messy. I don't like this.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, bye. That's why you're not in the third one, and that's why the third one's possibly the best one, Conan. But if you want to support TJ Miller and the known terrorist,
uncancelled terrorist,
accused
TJ Miller.
terrorist, suspected terrorist.
Yeah, we have a justice system in this country. No, the third one is really good. I don't want to say it's bad. I like moments of the third one the most. I really like the whole last scene where he's older and he's got his kids and he sees Toothless again, and it's like that moment of, is he going to remember him? And then there's the pure joy of like these two old friends. It's it's like when I see you guys again after a couple of years, and I put my hand out to see if you've like gone full bogan, and you'll come up, and then we just like wrestle, and it's like we drink beer.
You're always
like,
bogan.
And our wives are like shielding our kids, and like, it's all right. They remember each other. They like each other.
He's not going to stab him for his lighter or anything.
Yeah, the Sydney side is not going to shank anybody. That's what I think the end scene of this movie, I feel like it redeems it a lot in my mind. Like, not that it needed to be redeemed, but I really enjoy the end of the trilogy so much that like I rate 3 pretty high. And it's them things that I think about. Like the standout in 3 is that whole ending sequence and that character arc of Hiccup and Toothless. That's for that movie. Number 2 is everything with Stoic and his mum. So that movie's big thing for me, that like why I love it so much. With the first one, I can't point to anything specific other than the forming relationship between Toothless and Hiccup, which isn't as strong as the other things for me.
Yeah, I could be swayed. I guess the absence of Stoic in the third one also plays a bit of a role.
But the flashbacks are really good.
They are, but there's 2 of them, and he has 2 lines in each. Like it's not much. They're really good, I agree, but like his absence as a character, I think, is felt. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is one of those cases. I think on a different day, I could be persuaded that 3 is not the. Is 3
A good movie.
Could 3 be the best? I'm like, no, surely not, because then maybe. I don't know. This trilogy is just really good. It's hard to rank.
It's a
3.
very solid trilogy.
Yeah, one of the few that like just feels like there is a reason to make 3 of these. Right? There's like a story. There are 3 stories. That is one broad story. It encapsulates a lot of all these really good themes. Like this is pretty rare in any franchise filmmaking.
That meme of the drawn horse, but it's all good quality.
It's just all really great, flaming horse. Yeah,
exactly.
One thing I just read quickly that's interesting. Apparently, originally in the third one, Drago was going to be the villain again, and so he was going to be redeemed by the end of it. But then, like halfway through the movie's production, they scrapped that. So Grimmel is like an add-in, and they do a great job sort of paving over that. But like, it does feel kind of like 2 different movies for me. He's in this other movie where he's got like a bunch of other sort of like, I guess they're Mongolians, they're Khans. Which I don't know. Is that Khans Mongolian? I don't know.
The other people,
but the other group he's with, I think they're referred to as Khans, like by the subtitles or something. So he spends a lot of the movie, just with them, and they've got like a plan, and their plan is to get a dragon or something, I guess. And it's kind of like there's a bit of time spent there being like, oh, we need you to go and hunt this down, and we need you to bring it back to us because of this, and like all that's completely irrelevant. It's just an excuse to be like, this guy is the villain.
Yeah.
And so that does feel a little bit like, oh, this is a tack on because you changed it halfway through, but it's barely noticeable. Like they do an incredible job of just paving over it and making a really memorable villain again.
Yeah, like it's like not that it's what Hiccup would have been, but he was in the same situation as Hiccup, but he killed the Nightwing. So like that became his trajectory sort of thing, and he's like the opposite of Hiccup. Like he wants to kill every Nightwing there is. Like that's his whole dream. So I don't know.
Should Hiccup have gone evil in the end of this? In that last
when he approaches him, he pulls out a crossbow and shoots him. He's like, got him.
When Toothless jumps on him, he's like, hey bud, knife in the back.
The Lannisters and their regards.
Yeah.
If they were truly opposites, Hiccup would want to kill all humans, right?
I think Hiccup does.
Does Hiccup and Toothless have a borderline psychosexual relationship?
All right.
He gets his dad killed.
We've talked about this movie for too long. It's getting bad. All right. Next fortnight, we're doing a perfectly legitimate trilogy that actually exists and has been confirmed by the director himself. So it's the Bong Joon-ho Class Warfare trilogy. Yep. So we're doing...
How could you forget that?
Sorry?
How could you forget that?
Oh, yeah, no, I know. We are doing Snowpiercer, Parasite, and Mickey 17. I'm super keen.
Very keen.
I like 2 of these movies, and maybe the third one. We'll see.
Yeah. 17 coming out soon. I'm big Robert Pattinson fan,
Yes.
Twilight Days, Team Edward all the way. So I'm very keen to see 18 of him, 17 of him. So, I'm very excited.
Did you know it was based on a book that's like Mickey 11, but Bong Joon-ho's like, no, I want to kill him an extra 6 times?
Nice.
What a king. What a king.
All right. That's the good, the bad, and the worst. Thanks for tuning in. This podcast is brought to you by Conan's Books. A Taste of Iron and A God Grotesque. Pick them up on Amazon. They're good stuff. They have that violence that you've been looking for that's been missing out of these movies. Please rate us on iTunes. Tell your friends about us, and we'll catch you next fortnight.
Peace.
Yeah.